What is going on, guys? This is Miasin. So Tenpai Dragon is officially out, which is good news for some of y'all and very bad news for most of y'all, because you now need to know how to deal with a deck that can kill you with one single card and can play like 24 non-engine. If you thought that Yu-Gi-Oh couldn't get any worse, don't worry, my friend. It can always get worse. It can always get more degenerate. We can always have even more hand traps and more board breakers played in one single deck while having just a bunch of one-card combos, which is absolutely disgusting. But yeah, I will be covering the best ways to counter this deck effectively, you know, without having to play some gimmicky cards, because that's what a lot of people are considering at the moment, and of course it is big copium. But yeah, before I leak the goo, make sure you smash the like and subscribe button. It really motivates me a lot to keep existing. And also a huge shout outs to my sponsors Inspire TCG as well as Dueling Guard, and please check Dueling Guard out and use the coupon code YASIN656 for 5% off. Links will always be in the description box below. Again, they have the best sleeves, best deck box, best play mats, you name it, you got it. But with that being said, let's get right into it. Alright, so first of all, the best way to beat Tenpai is by understanding, first of all, how it works. And again, it is a deck that just plays with one card. And the main reason why this deck is just really annoying and really hard to deal with is because of their stupid field spell, Brimming Sangen Manor. Basically, what you really need to know about it is that, first of all, it's a starter, but also it makes it so that all the far dragon monsters you control are unaffected by your opponent's activated effects during your main phase 1 only. So this only checks for activated effects, so it still loses to Skill Drain, Baguska, etc. And it's only for main phase 1 only, so it still loses out in main phase 2 or battle phase. So if you got cards that can only be used on main phase like Veiler, yeah, the field spell is going to be pretty nice because these cards are going to be really bad. But the field spell search effect is not like, you know, Union Hanger, Trickstar, Light Stage, etc. You don't search as soon as you activate the card. You have to activate the card, wait until it resolves, and then declare the effect on the field. So it's an ignition-like effect that allows you to search for any Tenpai Dragon monster from your deck to your hand, and then you discard one card. The discard is obviously not a cost. So if you ogre your opponent's field spell, your opponent cannot attempt to search again because it is a hard once per turn to trigger the effect. And your opponent will also not discard in the process, which could be good in case your opponent has Fedora, which is the monster reborn. So I guess you can take advantage of that. Ghost Ogre is a card that is not only gaining in popularity because of Tenpai Dragon, but also because of the collateral damage against the other decks, which is one of the main reasons why I really consider Ghost Ogre being played either in your main or side deck this format. So yeah, you can use Ghost Ogre against the Manor, against, I don't know, like the Blessing, or Barrier against Voiceless Voice, or against like the Nightmare Throne against Tubel, pretty good. And against the Flunderies field spell, and obviously a lot of other decks. So yeah, Ghost Ogre is just a really good card. I do recommend. It's just kind of mediocre against the Fire decks, right? Fire King Snake Eyes, Pure Snake Eyes, they don't lose to Ghost Ogre too much. Like, obviously people are always going to make the point that you can Ogre the Fire King Island, but that's wishful thinking because, first of all, they always get to Appaloosa before doing that, or they have Sanctuary and then they protect the Fire King Island. So yeah, your Ghost Ogre did absolutely nothing. But yeah, Ghost Ogre is still very good against the other decks, so if you at least want to side deck the card, you are more than welcome to do so. Again, Veiler against Tenpai Dragon, not really good. Mourner is even worse, I want to say. Actually, not really worse, but it's just really bad. My issue, right, with Mourner is that the majority of the time, you're only really using this on the battle phase because the monsters summoned in main phase 1, they're not really worth negating. They don't really do anything. You're negating the synchro monsters that are being summoned in battle phase, but then your opponent can just dodge by quick syncing, and it's as if your Mourner did nothing. Pretty bad. And also, you cannot use Mourner during the damage step, so you can't negate whatever monster was just summoned. And again, that would be pointless because they can just quick sync. All three main deck Tenpai Dragon monsters have that quick syncing effect that isn't a hard once per turn, but rather a soft once per turn. So the fact that it has to target and it's just so reactive, and again, battle phase only, it just makes it really horrible. So yeah, definitely am not a big fan of Mortar. Veiler can be better in case your opponent doesn't have the field spell, right? Your opponent goes normal summon Baidora, the white one. You go Veiler that, and then, depending on the rest of the hand, they might just pass turn, but Mourner doesn't work like that. Ghost Bell is utter garbage, really bad. I mean, it affects things in the graveyard, or rather that interact with a graveyard. You could negate the graveyard effect at the level 7 or level 10 monster, but if you're getting OTK'd, you're getting OTK'd for like 15,000 damage, even if you negate something super late, right? You want to negate things or prevent things from happening as early as possible. And with a card like Ghost Bell, you're not really doing that. You're still allowing your opponent to attack, special summon a monster from the deck with Zongdora, and then quick sync, and then revive back a monster. You're gonna have to Ghost Bell, and then they probably still have a leftover monster. They can go into Trident Dragon and then destroy the field spell and then attack a bunch of times and still kill you. So if your Ghost Bell is the only hand trap that you have, it's gonna be really bad. And Drill and Logbird, again, very similar logic. They only really need 2 search cards, and they can also bypass it. So they can use the Kaimen on the draw phase, or they can set the Manor during the battle phase with the Baidora, the white one, and then they destroy it with the Trident Dragon. So even if they cannot search after their first search, it doesn't matter. It's usually not enough. So I'm absolutely not a big fan of Drill. And also if they have the field spell and they have Kaimen, they can go Manor first, and then you draw them, and then they chain the Kaimen, and they search again. So it's really bad. So yeah, absolutely not a big fan of Joel. Do not side deck this in against Tenpai Dragon. And if you had it in your main deck, side it out for other cards that are much better. Nibiru, this card is beyond trash because this card can only be used during the main phase again. Not only can their field spell protect them from Nibiru, but the majority of the time, I mean, the majority of their summons are going to happen during the battle phase, so it's not like you can nib them anyways. And during main phase 2, even if they don't OTK you, their first action is always to link off 2 dragons to make Hieratic Seal, and then if they have to keep playing, then they will. But if you nib them then they will trigger the Hieratic Seal, summon a dragon monster from the deck, and fully recover, so Nibiru doesn't really hurt them. If anything, it hurts you because you drew a card that is useless, and they can trigger Hieratic Seal and keep playing, so yeah, definitely same thing with Nibiru, just side it out. It's just, all these 3 cards, all these 5 hand traps actually are catastrophic. The only ones that are decent would be Ogre, Ash, and obviously Imperm. It's generically good. Imperm is just a better Veiler because you can use it at any time. That's the reason why I'm not really showing it. But Ash, there is a drawback that I want to explain here. It's the fact that obviously it's a fire monster. The Tenpai Dragons are all fire. So in a world where you, let's say, debarrier them for Synchro, they can go into Hita, revive back your Ash, and then go for the Princess, Raging Phoenix, Zelantis, OTK. Really just the same thing as pure Snake Eyes, but they do need a bunch of bodies in order to accomplish that. It's not that hard if their hand is decent, but again, this is the one drawback when you've got Ash and a really bad hand. So keep that in mind. Sometimes it's actually better to just not Ash them, just so that they have nothing to revive, because if you've got a monster on the field, this is where you enter dangerous zone, because then they can, you know, Princess back and then destroy and then revive back the Raging Phoenix. But if you got no monsters in your on your field, you should be safe. And also, they're not going to be able to, I mean, if you don't Ash them, then they can't go Hita and then reset back the board with Zelantis and then trigger the Princess. So again, you're playing around the possibility of them having a very good hand. So if you got no monsters on your field, just never Ash them. Just let everything that they do resolve. You're gonna be safe. At least if you debury them for Synchro, obviously. And the last hand trap that is worth going over is Dimension Shifter. This card is not good enough to just stop the OTK. So if you got Shifter and you bricked, they can still kill you with one card, but they can't really kill you through a board. If you have somewhat of a board, even if it's not even that great, because of the fact that all of their effects that remove cards on your field, all their like destruction and things, and all the monsters with a lot of attack, they usually involve the graveyard. So they're losing a lot of resources, and their OTK under Shifter is like barely just enough. So again, you will be able to survive if you got Shifter and something else. If you got like Shifter and Empen, unless you get Regeki'd, you're gonna be good, so don't worry about it. So yeah, Flunderies, Players Rejoice, but if you got the field spell, then you're gonna be able to summon another Empen on the return, and you're gonna win easily. Now, for the Copium cards that I've seen way too many people talk about, and it's honestly really pathetic because there is like a list of a lot of cards that you can play, and they're all garbage, and we can keep going because, you know, it never ends. There's infinite cards that technically beat Tenpai Dragon, but they're just not realistic, and some of them are like less garbage than other, but they're still huge copium. Alright, Swords of Revealing Light. Do not play this card. It can lose to Lightning Storm Duster, and it sucks against absolutely everything. Wabaku, this card sucks because they can still battle and then summon some monsters and still, you know, break your board. Even if they can't deal any damage, it doesn't matter. They can still destroy your monsters or cards with card effects, and they can set up a board, and then main phase 2, they can make some actual interruptions because you're not letting any of their, I mean, you're still allowing all of their plays to resolve, so that's really bad. It's not like Threatening Roar. Threatening Roar actually just stops everything. They can't even special summon anything for his Zangdora, so you might as well play Threatening Roar over Wabaku if you really want to play bad cards. Dragon Capture Jar, this card is a huge meme. Change all face-up dragon-type monsters on the field to defense, and they can't change their battle positions. If you really want to, if you want to win it with style, right? If you want to be like Maximilian Pegasus, this card's kind of nice. But if you actually want to win, period, again, don't play this card. Necrogarna and Electromagnetic Turtle. You can mill these cards as well as Spiritual Swords of Revealing Light in the Lightsworn or Tearlament's deck. These cards, theoretically are not even that bad, because honestly, you really just have to like stop one attack against Tenpai Dragon and you're fine. And honestly, they can't really do much to stop these cards, unless they have like Call by the Grave or DD Crow, really. But you should be fine. I mean, DD Crow doesn't even beat Necrogarna unless it's like on your end phase. Then yeah, you're kind of screwed. But yeah, again, do not play any of these cards. And Threatening Roar is a card that is not really good against any deck. So you also don't really want to play Threatening Roar, but if you really want to commit to like a really bad card, you might as well play Thunder of Ruler. It's like slightly better than Threatening Roar because it reads during your opponent's standby phase, you can activate this card. There is no battle phase this turn. So not only are you preventing your opponent from attacking you, but you're also protecting yourself from evenly because this is a battle phase only kind of card. So that's the, I guess, the positive aspect of Thunder of Ruler. The issue is that its activation requirement is you can only use it on your opponent's standby phase. So if your opponent goes draw phase, Cosmic Cyclone, Twin Twister, etc., you're gonna lose Thunder of Ruler and you're gonna wish that it was a Threatening Roar instead. So again, let's just not waste our time choosing between one of these two bad cards because both of them suck. At the same time, you should be fine because nobody really plays Cosmic Cyclone for, you know, Thunder of Ruler. In Tenpai Dragon, at least, people choose to play Lightning Storm and Duster instead. Lightning Storm, especially because it's a hybrid, it's either a Regeki or a Duster. So this card is actually seeing play in the main deck in a lot of builds. And yeah, you should usually be fine with Thunder of Ruler. Again, you can also kind of play generically if you go first. You protect yourself from evenly or whatever else. But again, it's absolute dog shit. Now, for cards that are actually interesting, and shoutouts to Dinkang Fam for posting this, but Simul Archfiends is an Archfiend card that you can search with Archfiend Hyris, which can be pitched with Purely Delicious Memory. This card doesn't discard by cost. So yeah, you can pitch that and then search for Simul Archfiends, right? This searches any Archfiend card. And it's pretty much like a D-Bearer, so it reads, this turn neither player can special summon monsters with the same card type, so Ritual, Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Link. They all recontrol, and the rest of the effect is not really relevant, so yeah, it's kind of like a D-Bearer that also includes Link, but only for the monsters that are already on the field. So my issue is that if they go Duster first, and then, you know, they start playing, you're completely dead. I don't really like this too much. So D-Bearer is much safer, because if your opponent goes Duster, then you can just chain, call Synchro, and you're fine. And D-Bearer is the absolute MVP, not only against Tenpai Dragon, but against the format in general, because this card has so much collateral, right? It's really good against Purely, it's good against Voiceless Voice, it's good against Despia, it's good against Melodious, Tenpai Dragon, obviously, so many decks. It's the best floodgate when you're going first now, because Anti-Spell got limited and Summon Limit got banned. So any deck that loses to D-Bearer is just not a really good meta call right now. And Tenpai Dragon is a deck that, because of its popularity, it's making those other decks even worse. So if anything, you have to try to beat the Dimensional Barrier this format. So that's the reason why I want to say Link decks are in a really, really good position, because, yeah, sure, they lose to Simul Archfiends, but who the hell is playing this package other than Purely? Other than Dinkang Fam. So yeah, again, huge shoutouts to you if you're watching this, my man. You are the best. And finally, if you really want to play some... no, sorry, actually, before I cover the decks that beat Tenpai Dragon, let's cover some cards that you can play maybe in your Snake Eyes deck that could be good against Tenpai Dragon if you're going first. So the first one is Kikinagashi Fucho. It's a lot of people know what it is, but it's a rank 1 monster that's unaffected by card effects at all time. But it has 0 attack and 0 defense. But with that being said, you can detach with 2 materials from this card. And this monster cannot be destroyed by battle for the rest of the turn, and you also do not take any battle damage from attacks involving this card. So, unless you get Kaiju or Santa Claus, Kikinagashi Fucho guarantees that you stay alive. Obviously, it also loses to Underworld Goddess, but that's not even that relevant. So, I do like this card. It is really cute. It has seen play against, like, Shifter and in the mirror match, because you just survive and next turn you win. So, it's a cute card, but... again, it does lose to Santa Claus and Kaijus, whereas Lyrilusk Assembled Nightingale is the one that is gaining a lot in popularity in the OCG, because this one does not lose to Kaijus, since it is lingering. So it reads, once per turn you can target 1 material from this card until the end of this turn. Lyrilusk monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle by card effects, also you take no battle damage. And no, actually this card can be targeted. So the goal is to use this card on draw phase or standby. Your opponent Kaijus you and you still don't take any battle damage. But it does lose to Imperm if you're using this on draw phase or standby to play around Kaijus, or it loses to Forbidden Droplet, so you do have to pick your poison. Would you rather play around Droplet or play around Kaijus or Santa Claus, right? So it's really between Kikinagashi Fucho or Lyrilusk Assembled Nightingale. There is no way to always predict which one is the best, you really just have to make a gamble. And by the way, the only play that they're ever doing going first is Hieratic Seal. So if you got like Call by the Grave, then it's always going to be good against them, right? Going second, going first. You stop their Hieratic Seal if you're going second. And if you're going first, then you already know that they're playing so many hand traps, so you might as well just punish them as much as possible. So Call by the Grave, Cross Out, Triple Tactic Talents. All those cards are absolutely cracked against Tenpai Dragon. Unless they're randomly converting to like 24 board breakers on the side deck. But, sorry, post game 1. I really don't think they're gonna do that. And finally, for the decks that just always win against Tenpai Dragon, you want to play those decks, right? It's free money. Flunderies is the first one. When you got Empen, they literally cannot kill you because they have to summon other monsters into attack if they want to actually apply pressure. And if they want to battle, obviously that makes sense. So you're always stopping all their effects. So it kind of defeats the purpose of the deck. And also they can never run over Empen by battle because it always halves the attack of the battling monsters. So this card is really just the best floodgate, honestly, against Tenpai Dragon. If you summon this, you cannot lose. They really need Regeki in order to have a chance. And for Yubel, very similar logic. I mean, you're reflecting back the damage and it can't be destroyed by battle. So if you force them to make like a Black Rose Moonlight or the Samurai Destroyer or something, then it's actually a good thing for you. It's really bad for them because they're using 2 Tenpai Dragon monsters to make a non-Tenpai that does not allow them to keep pushing even more. They're really just gonna forget that they're supposed to OTK you. They're gonna make like a really terrible board, really horrible sequence of plays, and they're not gonna kill you, and then you're just gonna survive and win next turn. So you want them to try to clear Yubel by them doing like horrible plays. So that's the reason why Yubel is just a very good pick at the current moment. And it's just going to keep getting better and better, especially when we're going to have Phantom of Yubel. That card's just going to be completely cracked. And finally, the last deck that just has an unlosable Tenpai Dragon matchup would be Runic. It's just anything with Runic cards is insane. You get to summon the Gary that always protects yourself from one attack and then destroys another card on the field. It happens during the damage step, so they also can't use the effect to like quick sync into something else. It's just really annoying to have to deal with that. And also, even if they have Lightning Storm, you can make a Yugen, protect everything in one shot. It's a nightmare. They really never want to play against Runic. It is, I want to say, their worst matchup, maybe like tied with Flunderies. Horrible, horrible matchup. So Tenpai Dragon is kind of like a gimmicky deck. It's a good deck, but if people are aware of its existence and choose to play the decks that do beat Tenpai Dragon, it's going to be a really, really rough for them. So yeah, this video, I hope it was able to help you out if you are trying to play Tenpai Dragon or not, and if you're just trying to play, rather to beat the deck. I hope you were able to like get some value off of this. Yeah, that's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know your thoughts about Tenpai Dragon and how would you plan on beating it in the comment section below. And I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.